It's Thanksgiving night. I'm 40 years old, and I live in Omaha, Nebraska. It was a bad snowstorm going on. I just come from bar hopping with some of my relatives. On my drive home, around 2 a.m., I had an urge for McDonald's to soak up some of the alcohol. So I took a hard right and ran over a curve. And out of nowhere, a police lights was behind me. I wasn't nervous. I was numb. This had been my life for a while. It all started when I was 17, and I got arrested in a drug bust in my neighborhood. Although I wasn't the one selling or buying, police ran up on me and put handcuffs on me and said, "Sorry, buddy, wrong place, wrong time." Eventually, I was wrongfully convicted and sentenced to 5 years in prison when I was 17. I remember being in shock when I heard the word guilty. My mother started crying, and a tear fell down my cheek as they led me to jail. When I got out of prison, prison had changed me. I sometimes say prison turned me into a monster. I was no longer in the wrong place at the wrong time. I was doing things that were wrong. Drive-bys, gang banging, robbing, drug dealing, drinking and drugging. This was my life for the next 20 years. I had started to earn power, street status, and respect. People started to look up to me in the streets, in the gangs, and in prison. One time, while in prison, I was made a leader of some natives in the gang without me even knowing it. Deep down in my heart, I knew what I was doing was wrong, but the peer pressure was strong. I am also of a mixed race. My mother was born in Nebraska, raised on a reservation. My dad was born in Alabama. He is black. Eventually, he moved up from the South to escape the racism. In prison, you must stick to your own race or a gang. But me being a big guy and biracial, I was able to squash beefs between different races. As years passed, I started to imagine a different lifestyle, particularly after I had a daughter. All I see in my future was prison or death, and I knew my daughter needed a father in her life. So I started to make plans to go to the reservation and go to the community college and take some plumbing classes so I can be a plumber like my father. But every time I got out of prison or jail, the streets was calling my name. One time when I got out, a homie of mine gave me a welcome home package. It consisted of a 1/4 ounce of crack to sell for me to get on my feet and a Tech-9 pistol to put in work like they say in the gangs. But here I am in my car, Thanksgiving, with a cop behind me. I started talking to that rearview mirror and thinking, things must change. I gotta do better. Then the cop car knocked on my window. I was still drunk and I got belligerent with him. I remember going down to the downtown jail to sign the papers for the DUI ticket and waking up cold with no blanket. I said to myself, something has to change. So a few months later, I'm signing different papers, this time to get admitted to the Ponca Clinic. I had tried for many years to get clean on my own, but it never worked. I didn't want to give up the fun. When I'm drunk and high, I feel like the man. I was just scared to live in the moment. But I made a promise on New Year's Eve to go to rehab. So here I am on the elevator going to the 3rd floor of the Ponca Clinic. It's going to my first session, my group session. I feel uncomfortable and nervous, especially when I walk into this large room. I see a circle of people and they all native. I am what you call urban native because I didn't grow up on the reservation. Many urban neighbors tend to forget their traditional ways. So in the beginning of the group, some of the groups would start joking with me about me not knowing some of the culture. But they was also apprehensive of the stories I was sharing and some of my street swag. Eventually, they started to respect me and accept me for the changes I was making. So I kept going back to the group and meeting with my sponsor. He was our van driver. He picked us up every week. He was a spiritual leader from the Oklahoma Nation. He adopted me as a nephew, something I needed because I didn't have a father figure in my life. By this point, my friends started looking at me different. It wouldn't even shake my hand if I seen him at the bar, but I didn't care. I didn't want to associate with no longer me anyway. I was proud of the changes I was making, and I was no longer looking in the rearview mirror. In Native culture, the circle is sacred. It's been 10 years since I joined that circle at the Ponca Clinic, and today I facilitate talking circles for the adults and youth who had experienced this trauma like I did. We gather chairs together, dim the lights, and say a prayers as equals. And I feel today I had turned my pain into purpose.